Tonight's chilling tale comes straight from one of our own community members, David, who bravely shares his harrowing experience. David's unnerving tale unfolds in a haunting cemetery nestled in the rolling hills of Ireland. This is no ordinary recounting. It is a descent into a realm shrouded in mystery and fear. The story begins on a fog-laden evening, with the setting sun casting long shadows between the ancient tombstones. As David walks through the gates of this centuries-old graveyard, the air is thick with a sense of creepiness. The gravestones, weathered by time, stand as silent sentinels to the countless stories buried beneath them. The eerie calm is intermittently broken by the rustle of leaves and the distant cawing of crows, heightening the sense of isolation in this desolate place. The deeper David ventures into the cemetery, the more the line between the living and the dead seems to blur. He feels the weight of countless eyes watching from the unseen corners of the graveyard. Whispers carried on the wind seem to speak in unknown tongues, and the faint smell of earth and decay permeates the air. Prepare yourselves for a tale that blurs the line between the living and the spirits, where every rustle and whisper could be something, or someone lurking in the darkness. One night, I decided to visit my dad's grave in a graveyard in Ireland. While I was there, I noticed something really strange. There was this tall man wearing all black clothes, with a black cap and a scarf covering his face. He was standing by the wall of the graveyard, but he wasn't visiting any graves or talking to anybody. When I walked in and looked back, he had mysteriously disappeared. Continuing my visit in the graveyard, the mystery of the tall man lingered in my mind. It felt eerie and out of place to see someone dressed like that, just standing still and not interacting with anything around him. The atmosphere in the graveyard seemed to grow heavier after he vanished, and a sense of unease started to settle over me. As I walked among the graves, the silence was almost suffocating, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves in the gentle night breeze. I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched, and I found myself frequently glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see the mysterious man in black reappear from the shadows. Approaching my father's grave, I took a moment to clear my head, focusing on why I was there. I lit a small candle I'd brought with me, placing it beside the headstone. The soft glow of the candlelight seemed to bring a momentary sense of peace, pushing away the eerie feeling that had crept up on me. But just as I began to feel a bit more at ease, a sudden chill ran down my spine. The night air grew colder, and I heard a faint rustling sound behind me. Turning around quickly, I saw nothing but the dimly lit rows of gravestones stretching out into the darkness. It was then that I realized how isolated I was in this quiet, sprawling graveyard. Despite trying to reassure myself, the thought of the man in black haunted me. Who was he? Why was he there? His presence felt like an ominous sign, and I couldn't help but wonder if I should leave. Yet, I felt compelled to stay a bit longer, to honor my father's memory in this sacred place. As I stood there, lost in my thoughts, the candle started flickering as if disturbed by a sudden breeze. A whisper of unease washed over me again, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was stirring in the darkness of the graveyard. As I lingered by my dad's grave, the eerie calm was shattered once again by the mysterious man in black. Darting behind an old, dilapidated shed, his behavior grew more unsettling. He was muttering and cackling to himself, his voice slicing through the silence with a chilling repetition of "everyone's going to die." His presence cast a shadow of fear over the entire graveyard. The man in black's unnerving chant spread a wave of fear among the visitors. Among them were two young girls at their mom's grave, who became so terrified by his eerie chanting that they quickly ran out of the graveyard, their cries echoing hauntingly in the night. Another visitor tiptoed towards me, speaking in hushed tones. They shared chilling tales about the man's fearsome reputation, a shadowy figure hiding in the bushes, possibly carrying a knife, and infamous for taking things from graves at night. Even with many people telling the police about him, he always managed to avoid being caught, like a ghost vanishing into thin air. This knowledge sent a chill down my spine. The thought of this menacing figure, so close and unpredictable, filled the air with an unspoken threat. The graveyard, a place where peace and memory should reign, had now transformed into a setting of horror and fear, all because of this one man's disturbing actions. His presence loomed over us, turning a place of remembrance into a scene from a chilling tale. As I knelt by my dad's grave, trying to find solace in prayer and memories, the air around me grew thick with an impending sense of dread. The night transformed into a scene of horror when the man in black, now shockingly without any clothes, started running wildly all over the graveyard. His chilling screams shattered the quiet of the night, echoing ominous warnings of impending evil and doom for all who were there. His crazy behavior made everyone feel really terrified under the dark night sky. My heart raced with fear as I prepared to leave. In a horrifying twist, he charged directly at me, a glint of metal in his hand that resembled a knife. In a moment of sheer panic, I dove behind the large, weathered gray pillars near the entrance. The darkness of the night was my only ally, cloaking my presence from his crazed pursuit. Crouched in the shadows, I could hear him nearby, his bizarre noises and creepy laughter echoing through the graveyard, sending cold chills down my spine. Suddenly, he ran back into the middle of the graveyard. He was yelling about evil and death, and his voice echoed off the old gravestones. It was like something from a scary dream, only much worse. He was hopping over the graves in a crazy way, and at one point, he even tripped and fell on a gravestone, laughing in a strange way under the moonlight. I was so scared, I knew this wasn't normal. It was like facing something really evil, not just a person. I knew I had to get out of there fast. My legs were trembling and my heart was racing as I ran towards the exit, his scary face and eyes stuck in my mind. That night, under the weirdly glowing moon, I saw something really scary that I just couldn't understand. It was so frightening. I knew I'd still be scared even after getting away from that place. I hurried out of the graveyard, my feet barely touching the ground. My heart pounded in my chest, and fear coursed through my veins like ice. The chilling events of the night replayed in my head as I made my escape. Once I was at a safe distance, I contacted the police and told them everything. They took it seriously and came quickly. The police searched every corner of the graveyard that night. They even returned the next morning and continued the search for a few days, hoping to find the man or any clue about him. But it was as if the earth had swallowed him up. No trace of his clothes, no footprints, nothing to indicate he was ever there. His disappearance was as mysterious as his presence. Questions swirled in my mind. Who was he? What did he want? Was he a real person or something else? The lack of answers only added to the haunting nature of the experience. That night at the graveyard stayed with me for a long time. Even in the safety of my own home, I felt uneasy. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking figure, and every sound seemed to echo his mad laughter. The memory of his unsettling behavior and the terror he instilled were imprinted on my mind forever, turning an ordinary visit to a place of remembrance into a nightmare I could never forget. Today, the graveyard still feels unsettling and filled with fear. People in the town whisper about the mysterious man, hesitant to visit the graves of their loved ones, especially as the night falls. The memory of the man's disturbing antics lingers, making even the bravest souls think twice before entering the gates of the cemetery at night. They fear he might return, unpredictable and possibly dangerous. The local police, despite their efforts, have hit a dead end. Over 15 people, myself included, have given them detailed descriptions of the man, his attire, his bizarre behavior, his chilling laughter. Yet, no one knows who he is. His identity remains a mystery, as does his whereabouts. Questions about his intentions and the reasons behind his eerie actions go unanswered, adding to the growing legend surrounding him. Within the community, there's a lot of gossip and different ideas about what happened. Some believe he wasn't just a man but a ghost, an apparition doomed to haunt the graveyard and terrify the living under the cloak of night. This idea seems more believable because he suddenly disappeared without leaving any clues, almost like a ghost fading away into thin air. His last sighting remains the only encounter, leaving no evidence of his existence except the vivid memories of those who saw him. The fear he instilled continues to haunt the townspeople. His image, particularly his pale, white face and those unnaturally glowing eyes, is etched into the minds of all who witnessed his presence. To me, his face was the embodiment of true horror, a sight so unnerving and otherworldly that it has stayed with me, a constant reminder of the terror that once gripped the heart of our small town. His legacy is a tale of fear and mystery, a chilling reminder of the night when the ordinary turned into the extraordinary.